Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my Game Week A League 2 score predictions versus Jordan Richards from the 4th Tier Fever podcast. If you do go on to enjoy today's video, make sure to like, comment and subscribe. Get your score predictions in down in the comment section down below and let's get straight into it. Now last week in terms of total points between me and Frank wasn't the most amazing of weeks, but he is the first guest so far this score prediction series to get an accurate score. He correctly predicted that Carlisle would go to Swindon and win 2-0. I also got another accurate score as I predicted Barrow to beat Newport County 2-0, and I got 2 other correct results and Frank got 3 further correct results as well. So I got the 5 points, Frank got the 6, so I'm now sat on 40 points and the guests are sat on 35. Let's start out then with tonight's kickoff between Tranmere Rovers and Salford City. Tranmere haven't had the most amazing start to the season. I backed them to finish in and around the playoffs. They're currently lower part of mid-table. This is 15th versus 16th. Both sides have lost their last match. Obviously Tranmere coming off the back of back-to-back 3-0 defeats as well away from home, but back on home soil I'm going to back them for 3 points live on the telly. I'm going 2-1 to Nigel Adkins' side. Let's see what Jordan thinks.
Hello everybody, I'm Jordan from 4th Tier Fever. I'm here to give my predictions for this week's League 2 fixtures. Thank you to Sam for inviting me on the channel. We're starting off with Tranmere against Salford on the Friday night. Tranmere come into this, a couple of 3-0 defeats away from home against Gillingham and Colchester. Salford on the back of a defeat themselves, losing to Walsall. It's the two teams that I think they're the lowest scorers in the league. I don't expect this one to be a glamorous game, but I do think there'll be a win. I think Tranmere will back themselves at home. Again, I don't think it'll be pretty, but I think Tranmere will nick this one 1-0.
Into the Saturday early kickoffs then. Firstly, we have Harrogate Town versus my team at Bradford City. Now, it's a ground that we've always struggled at. We've only won there once in our history, and I can only really see that continuing. Harrogate obviously beat Doncaster at home, but they're not amazing away from home. They sit 20th in the table. We're currently 8th. I am going to back Doncaster though. Not Doncaster, they're not playing. I'm going to back Harrogate for a 2-0 win. Hopefully for a bit of reverse psychology, but I just can't see us going there and picking up all 3 points. Let's see what Jordan thinks.
Next up is Harrogate against Bradford. Now, Harrogate are an interesting team. They're very inconsistent, aren't they? I mean, there'd be times in which they pick up a really good result like they did against Doncaster not so long ago. And then last week when they lost 3-0 to Crewe. Very inconsistent, aren't they? And then you've got Bradford, who've had a very solid season so far. Very solid start. A goalless draw last week against Wimbledon. But, they're sitting in a pretty decent position at the minute. But I think if we're looking at this one, I think you just back Harrogate. I think these are the sort of games that they thrive on, Yorkshire Derby, I think Harrogate will nick this one 2-1.
And the other early kick-off on Saturday is Walsall FC versus Colchester United. Colchester currently sitting 11th, Walsall sitting up in 3rd. I do think Colchester are going to frustrate the Saddlers though in this match, and unfortunately I don't think for Matt Sadler's side they're going to get over the line with 3 points. I think they'll get something out of this game though. I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw. Let's see what Jordan thinks.
Coming up next is Walsall against Colchester. Now Walsall have had a very impressive start to the season. It's sort of taken me by surprise a little bit, but they've had some really good results. They won last week at Salford. I've always believed that there's another layer, there's another gear to go for Colchester. I still believe that. I mean, I just like the Cowleys quite a bit actually, as much as I'm a Grimsby fan saying that, but I don't think there'll be much that separates this one, if I'm going to be honest. I don't think there'll be much in it. I'm gonna go for 1-1.
Obviously, AFC Wimbledon versus Accrington Stanley has been postponed, so we move on to Bromley FC versus MK Dons. Bromley obviously started out very well. I think won their first 2 matches in the league. Since then, they are without a win in their last 5 matches. They've just picked up 1 point from their last possible 15. MK Dons obviously appointing Scott Lindsay as their new manager. I'm still backing MK Dons to win the league this season, and with that appointment, I definitely do think that will eventually come through, despite them only winning 2 out of their first 7 matches. I'm going to back MK Dons for a very comfortable 3-0 away win. Let's see what Jordan thinks.
The next game is Bromley against MK Dons. Now, Bromley had a pretty solid start to life in League 2. Won their first few games, didn't they? But sort of tailed off a little bit since. I think they're out of winning like 4 or 5, coming up against an MK Son who I think for their standards have not started the season great, although they are under new management of course after appointing Scott Lindsay yesterday, which is a very good appointment I must say. I think this is the sort of game in which I think Bromley thrive on. If they catch MK on a poor day, which has been, to be fair, quite a few times this season so far, I reckon I can get a result. You know what, I'm going to go for a Bromley win. I'm going to back them to win 2-0.
Carlisle United versus Grimsby Town. I think it was confirmed the other day that Charles Vernam is set to miss a number of months of action due to another hamstring injury. He's struggled with hamstring problems for a number of years now, and he's going to be out for a few months according to David Artell, which is a big blow for Grimsby. He's been a big part of their wins so far this season, scored a good couple of goals, and obviously this is Jordan's side. Coming up and travelling to Carlisle, who recently change manager, and obviously coming off the back of the new manager bounce, getting a first win under his belt, did Mike Williamson, and Carlisle are slowly moving away from them relegation sort of place. I do think it'll be another comfortable win for Mike Williamson's side, and I'm going to go with a 3-0 home win for Carlisle. Let's see what Jordan thinks about his own team.
Next up is Carlisle against my boys Grimsby. Now, Carlisle, they've made a good start to life under their new boss Mike Williamson, winning his first game in charge against Swindon last week, 2-0. It's his first home game in charge of the club. As for my team, Grimsby, we could probably do with an away win. We've only won twice on the road since the start of last season, so yeah, away wins have been few and far between then. So look, I'll never back us to lose. I think we've been plagued by injuries and we've got a couple of suspensions. I'll take a 1-1 if I'm going to be perfectly honest.
Before we do go any further though with today's video, don't forget to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. Can we try and hit 100 likes on today's video? And don't forget as well to get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below. How do you think your team will get on this weekend? Cheltenham Town versus Fleetwood Town. Fleetwood currently sat smack bang in the middle of the table in 12th. Cheltenham are not too much further behind in 17th. I can only really see this game finishing in a draw, so I'm going to go 1-1. Let's see what Jordan thinks.
Cheltenham against Fleetwood next. I think, to be honest, it's sort of where I expected Cheltenham to be. They're a little bit inconsistent, aren't they? Although they did pick up what I think is a decent draw against... it was Chesterfield, wasn't it? They drew 1-1 last week. As for Fleetwood, did watch their game the other night against Morecambe. I thought they were pretty impressive for large parts of it, but I think you did get the impression that they did throw it away in the end. But they've got some good players, and I expect them to be quite up there. Actually, they look a pretty impressive side. On the back of that, I mean, it's a bit more than that, but I think I back Fleetwood to get a result in this. I think there'll be a few goals. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Fleetwood win.
Doncaster Rovers versus Chesterfield FC. Doncaster have been very strong at home for a number of months now, and Chesterfield haven't been as strong coming into the league so far this season as what I expected them to be. They've only won 2 of their first 7. I can only really see this finishing in a home win at Fort Grant McCann's side, so I'm going to go 2-0 to Donny. Let's see what Jordan thinks.
Doncaster against Chesterfield next. Now, Doncaster are without a win in their last couple of games, aren't they? They drew 1-1 with MK Dons last time out, both sides finishing with 10 men. Harry Clifton being sent off for Donny that game, I noticed as well. He's one of our own. I've got to point that out. And then Chesterfield, yeah, as I said in the last one, I drew 1-1 with Cheltenham. And like I said, I think with a couple to, I think they've got another gear to go to yet. I think Doncaster, I think they'll get back to winning ways with them at home. I think there'll be goals again, like I said. I think Doncaster will take away a 3-1 victory.
Gillingham FC versus Barrow AFC, second versus first. Another top of the table clash. I think last week it was Notts County versus Gillingham. This week it's Gillingham versus Barrow. So the Gills are having a real tough test at the moment, but they've won 5 of their first 7 in the league. They've had almost an identical record, apart from Barrow have scored 1 and conceded 1 more goal than the Gills. I do see Gillingham edging this one though, with them being the home side. I'm going to go 2-1 to, what's the Gillingham manager called? The former Cambridge United manager? Is it Mark Bonner? Is he the Gillingham manager? I'm pretty sure, I've just completely made that up. I'm pretty sure Mark Bonner is the Gillingham manager, and I think his side are going to come away from the game with a 2-1 win. Let's see what Jordan thinks.
Next up is Gillingham against Barrow. First versus second in this one, with Barrow being top of the table. Gillingham picked up a very impressive victory at Notts County last week. I said on the pod a few times that I don't think many teams will go to Meadow Lane and get a result. So Gillingham, they look like the real deal at the minute. As for Barrow, what a start for them as well. A couple of back-to-back wins in the league from what I'm aware of. Went to Stamford Bridge in the week, and it didn't look like they disgraced themselves too badly, although that Chelsea side did look pretty good. I didn't expect them to get much from that, but it must have been a good experience for them. If I'm going to be honest, I think there'll be a winner, and I don't think there'll be much in this. I think Gillingham will win 1-0.
Morecambe FC versus Notts County. I nearly went with a 1-0 home win for Morecambe. They've scored 5 goals in their last 2 matches, but they have also conceded the 5. They come back from a 2-goal deficit in their last 2 matches, at home to Colchester and away at Fleetwood on Monday night. Notts County, though, I think they have far too much firepower for the Shrimps in this game. Going forward, they've looked absolutely excellent so far this season. Scored 14 goals already, which is the most in the division. They've won 4 of their first 7, only losing the 1 game as well. I can see this being a pretty comfortable 4-1 win for Notts County. Let's see what Jordan thinks.
Morecambe against Notts County next. Now, Morecambe, they've not had a great start to the season at all, have they? Yet to have claimed a victory. They lost their first 5 games 1-0. A couple of comeback draws against Colchester and Fleetwood on Monday night. Not bad draws, I guess, but they're still waiting for that first victory. As for Notts County, I think they'll be wanting to get back to winning ways pretty quickly after losing to Gillingham last week. And to be honest, I can only really see one winner in this one. I think Notts County will win, and I think they'll win quite comfortably. I think the Magpies will take a 3-0 win.
Newport County versus Crewe at Alexandra. Newport currently sit 14th and have lost their last 3 league matches. Crewe sit up in 7th and they've won their last 4. I can only see this finishing in an away win at Fort Lee Bell side. So I'm going to go 2-1 to the visitors. Let's see what Jordan thinks.
The second to last game of this week is Newport against Crewe Alexandra. Now, Newport had a pretty solid start to season, but has quickly tailed off with the last couple of results. They've conceded, I think it was 10 goals in their last 3, which is not a good omen to have. As for Crewe, they're probably the form team at the minute, aren't they? I think they've won 4 or 5 in a row. Yeah, they've had a very good run after starting the season pretty slow. I mean, they lost 5-0 to Chesterfield early on, wasn't it? But I think a lot of credit has to go to Lee Bell for the turnaround. Crewe are a side full of confidence at the minute. Not sure you can really say the same for Newport. I think Crewe will win again. I think they'll claim a 2-0 victory.
And the final match to go through and predict this weekend is a bit of a derby. Port Vale versus Swindon Town. Obviously, they had the whole playoff drama a couple of years ago. Harry McKerney missing the penalty, and then the Port Vale fans going on and kind of roughing up some of them Swindon players. But in terms of this season so far, Port Vale currently sit 9th in the table. They've lost 2, won 2, and drawn 1 of their last 5 matches, so very inconsistent form. But they have picked up 7 points from their last possible 9. Swindon have had a really poor start to the season, though. They've only won 1 of their first 7 matches. They only scored 7 goals as well so far this season. So I'm going to back Darren Moore's side for a 3-1 win. And for the final time in today's video, let's see if Jordan agrees.
The last game, and no means least, we have Port Vale against Swindon Town. Now, Port Vale looked pretty well to get a point out of last week, coming back late from 2-0 down to claim a 2-2 draw away at Accrington Stanley. It didn't look like the best of performances from Darren Moore's men, but they did come away with a point in that one. As for Swindon Town, they've not had the best of starts of the season at all. Just the 1 win so far this campaign, and maybe a couple of question marks on Mark Kennedy's head at the minute already with their start. If we're looking at the game, I think Port Vale will take this one. I can only see them winning, if I'm going to be honest. I think Port Vale will win 2-1. Thank you to Sam for having me on the channel. Really appreciate it, mate. And yeah, thank you guys.
And there we have it then. Thank you very much to Jordan for coming onto the channel. I'll leave a link to his podcast down in the description down below. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment and subscribe, and let me know down below any further guests that you want to see come on the channel. Thank you all for watching though, and I'll see you very soon for another one.